Hello and welcome back, my stylish friends. Today I want to show you how to shape corner to corner stitch. We will start as always with the slip knot, and with corner to corner stitch what you're making is the cluster of 4 stitches. So we will start as always, chain 6. And in the 4th stitch from the hook, or I count with this stitch always 3rd from my project, I will place 1 double crochet stitch, and in this project I will be not making in the back loop. Instead of back loop, I will make the stitches always in a back bump. Because when I align them in a back bump, the edge of my project will look identical to the top of my project when I finish. Today I will be shaping corner to corner stitch to the shape of square, but you can use exactly the same method to making rectangle if you want to make a scarf. And of course, if you're making scarf, you should use a smaller size yarn that I'm using, or larger hook for your stitches to be more flexible. And I'm making my last stitch, which will be my 4th stitch, and that's row number 1 done. That's typical how you start corner to corner stitch. And there is a video on my channel how to do the first 2 rows in details. Today I'm just focusing on shaping, so I will start my 2nd row by chain 6. And again, I count 3rd from the project, you can count 4th from the hook, and I'm making double crochet in the back bump. With this project, I'm using only back bump stitches in the foundation chains. So let's find our stitch. I will twist my foundation chain to expose the back bump, and that's where I will place my first double crochet stitch. Corner to corner stitch is always made with clusters of 4 stitches. Those 4 stitches are chain 3, replacement of double crochet stitch, and 3 double crochet stitches. You're combining those clusters together using slip stitch, but making sure that they are flipped horizontally and vertically. So right now, that's how my shape look like, and I need to connect these stitches together, those clusters together. Because I was using back bumps, my stitches are aligned already. If you're using back loop, your project will look like this. And if you work in back loop, you have to twist the first row up in order to connect, because you want to have 1 vertically, 1 horizontally. So when increasing the row, you always make chain 6, you make 1 cluster, and you flip the previous work up to connect the new cluster with the slip stitch. In between rows, when you're making clusters, you always start with chain 3, and then you make 3 double crochet stitches. So I have to do 1 more cluster to finish row number 2. When working stitches in between rows, place your stitches between 2 loops. And that's my last stitch in this row. I'm placing stitch between 2 loops, and that's the end of row number 2. I will increase this shape by 2 more rows, and then I start decreasing rows. So again, if you start increasing rows, you have to make chain of 6. You will make 1 cluster of stitches, and once you're done with your cluster, you will connect to your previous row using slip stitch. And that's my 4th stitch in this cluster, and as you see, my new row is on the top. I need to flip my work up and make a slip stitch in the first stitch. And again, because I'm in the middle of my row, I will chain 3 on top of each cluster. I will chain 3 and make additional 3 double crochet stitches all the way to the end of the row. You will repeat this for any row where you want to increase stitches, and you always increase these stitches by 1 cluster of 4 stitches. Once again, I'm at the end. I need to connect with slip stitch and 2 loops, and I need 1 more cluster to finish row number 3. When working corner to corner stitch, it's very simple to know which row you are in because you're making only 1 cluster per row. So if on the bottom of my project I have 3 clusters, that means I made 3 rows. And because I'm making square, I want to be sure that I have 3 clusters on each side right now, and that's the end of row number 3. Let's measure if I have correct size. I will make 1 more cluster. I want to have square of 4 cluster on each side. Once again, I'm increasing, so I need 6 stitches. And in the 4th from the hook or 3rd from the project, you're making first double crochet stitch, and you make 2 more double crochet stitches, and I'm using the back bump. I like the back bump much more because when I twist the row, the end side of my square will look nice and even. Okay, so this is my last row where I increase stitches. As you see, the larger the project becomes, it's kind of harder to work. So what I do, I just twist everything to the bottom until I finish the first cluster. Once I need to connect them, I will bring my work up again, and then I will move my remaining work down because it's easy for me to hold that way, especially when you're working large scarves or big blankets. It's much easier to just fold work in each row. Okay, I need to connect this one and make 1 more cluster because I want to be sure I have 4 clusters on each side of my square. So this is the end of my increases. Now starting with the row number 5, I will be decreasing stitches. In order to decrease stitches, you no longer make chain of 6. What you need to do, you need to bring your hook down, so you make chain 3, and then you flip your work and you slip stitch to your last cluster. That way you bring your hook one row down or up, depends how you're looking at your project. But what you want to make sure you do not add additional cluster. I want to make a square, so looks to me now like I'm in the middle of my work. Therefore, I will just chain 3 and continue working all the way to the end of this row, but remembering that I want to decrease stitches. So I will not go all the way to the top. I will skip the last cluster, because if I will make all the way to the last cluster, I will still be adding stitches on the other side of my project. With this exercise, I will skip one cluster on the bottom of my project and one cluster on the top. And of course, if you're shaping like sweater, there will be time where you need to decrease only stitches on one side. So in this case, you will just select which side you want to add or decrease the stitch. But we're making simple square here, 4x4, so we need to decrease stitches on both sides. And this will be my last cluster in this row, because I do not want to go up. I just slip stitch and that's it. So now when you're decreasing stitches, you're making less and less clusters in each row. Now to bring my hook to the next row, I need to chain 3 and connect to my previous cluster. Once again, when I do this decrease, it looks like I'm in the middle of my project. So I will be making only chain 3 and 3 double crochet stitches. So how you make each cluster never change, but you have to remember to chain 6 when you want to increase stitches, and you have to remember to skip that chain 6. Instead of chain 6, make chain 3 and slip stitch to the previous row when you want to make decrease stitches. And once again, I'm almost done with this row, and I have to remember not to go all the way up, so I slip stitch and this row is completed. Now I want to decrease one more row, so I need to chain 3, slip stitch my chain 3 to the previous cluster, and start working my regular cluster with chain 3. And as you see, we have only one cluster missing, and that's what I will be doing right now. I hope you learned something new today, and I hope this information was helpful. I use this stitch for any projects. Great for blankets, scarf, even sweaters or hats. I actually made some hats using the same pattern, and looks very pretty when you color block. Okay, so we are almost done. What we need to do, we need to chain 3 and bring that chain 3 to the corner of the square. This extra step will bring each side to the same length. I want each side to be equal. And right now looks like I'm missing a little part on the top. So you have to make chain 3 and bring to the end of the next row. In my case is the corner of my square. And there you go. We have nice looking squares with clusters aligned vertically and horizontally. Let me know which part was more easier for you, increases or decreases. And once again, thank you for crocheting with me. You can make this beautiful coaster in no time. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below and I will answer all of them. Have a great day. Happy crocheting.